Hey guys, it's me Grace. So I wanted to record a video. I haven't talked about this, ever really addressed it yet, but I wanted to discuss my birth and, sorry, what kind of occurred during Azalea's birth. So, I kind of had a tentative due date. My due date was somewhere between February 14th and March 5th. And obviously that's kind of, a big gap. So once I turned what my doctor kind of aired towards the March 5th due date, just because of Azalea's size. And my period dates kind of corresponded more with a February 14th due date. So he and I and my husband decided that um, it would be safer to go with being induced towards 39 weeks on the side of the March 5th due date. So I would be 39 weeks on the March 5th due date, and I would have been like 42 weeks, um, according to the February 5th, or sorry, February 14th due date. So what ended up happening was I went in to be induced on March 25th. Um, it was a really hard decision for me because I was really against induction. I wanted everything to be natural, but I was so miserable being pregnant. I couldn't eat anything. It was like horrible. I had such bad sour stomach and I was just sick all the time. It was really hard for me to you know, eat anything. It was like I'd eat a couple bites of something and then be done with it. And I was just miserable all the time. Like I felt so full. And so what ended up happening was that when we went in to have Azalea, my husband and I, they started me on the Pitocin at 9:15 in the morning, and drew blood and did all that stuff. So my labor what had officially begun according to the doctors at 9:15 in the morning. Um, I attempted to get up and walk around because I knew that would help my labor progress and put the pressure of her head on my cervix and help, move things along. So the doctors and the nurses, even the nurse is even against my doctor's advice because he said that Azalea's heartbeat was, it was regular, it was fine, and even against his advice, the doctors had me like laying there the whole time and like didn't listen to him when he was like, okay, she can get up and move around. Sorry, my hair is so crazy. I went to the beach today. Anyway, when they told um when he told them that I could get up and move around, they agreed when he was in the room, but then when he left the room, I had to lay pretty much flat on my back and let them monitor me. And um after that, like I didn't really progress. When I came into the hospital, I was 2 centimeters dilated and 25% effaced. And I walked around pretty much as I could, and I just wasn't progressing. So at around 9 o'clock, my doctor was like, "Okay, that's enough pitocin for you. We're taking you off. You're gonna eat a meal and go to sleep, and then we'll resume the pitocin at 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow." So at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got put on the pitocin again with no sleep. I hadn't been able to sleep all night. I kept having contractions, and at around 9 o'clock in the morning, I still hadn't progressed much. They broke my water, and my water was clear and everything, so that was really good. And that was the most disgusting thing I have ever felt in my life, was my water being broken. It was like literally like somebody dumped a pan of warm water on me. So after that happened, I labored more and more. I sat on the birthing ball, tried to get in the shower, tried to walk around as much as I possibly could that the nurses would allow. And finally, they ended up having to put an intrauterine catheter in me to find out how strong my contractions actually were, and around 8 o'clock p.m. they decided, okay, they're just not strong enough, we've maxed you on Pitocin, there's nothing else we can do. And the doctor's like, you can either walk around some more, which they really weren't allowing me to do anyways. I knew once he left the room that would be all over with, and I just was too, weak and didn't want to argue with the nurses. So, my husband and I opted for a cesarean section, and, because they'd already broken my water, and we knew it could get dangerous if we waited longer. And so, they took me in to have the C-section, I want to say around 10, and, my husband wasn't allowed in the room when they were giving me the spinal block, and finally, I want to say it took him like an hour to get the spinal block in. Just as the anesthesiologist was about to give up, they finally got it in. He was going to put me under general anesthesia. And they finally got it in, and it was great from then out. I didn't feel anything great as far as I didn't feel anything. So, what ended up happening after that was I was there, but I felt like I wasn't. I felt like I was watching myself. I didn't really have any connectedness with my spirit at that point in time, and what was happening. I felt like I was watching myself. And, they pulled her out. They didn't say, whether it was a boy or a girl, but, I heard her cry, and, my husband cut the cord, and he just said, I don't remember him saying this, he said it was, I remember him saying it was a beautiful baby, but he said it told me a great job, and, they stitched me back up, they took Azalea away from me. um, I had asked previously, before I got the C-section, if I would be allowed to hold her in the OR, and, they said yes. But as soon as she was born, they put her on my chest, even though I was stable condition, they put her on my chest for about 10 seconds, then they took her away, and I didn't see her again for about an hour and a half. And, when they brought her back, I tried to breastfeed her, and that didn't really work, because there was so much commotion. She was trying very hard to breastfeed, and because of all the commotion, that didn't really work. So they brought her back to the room, and they told me I either had to give her formula or I had to give her glucose water because her blood sugar was low. And I'd wanted to give her breast milk, and they pressured me, kind of telling me that the glucose water, after I agreed to that instead, because I didn't want her to get nipple confusion, and I was being pressured into giving her either one, I agreed to the glucose solution because I didn't want her to get nipple confusion, and they were like, well, it's not going to work as effectively as if you give her formula. So I felt bad, and I got pressured into giving her formula, and after that I couldn't breastfeed her. 2 days later, my doctor came into the room without even examining me and told me that because I wasn't engorged, I would not be able to breastfeed. And it was really hard. So throughout all this, after, if this wasn't enough, they forgot to change my gauze padding under my incision, for about 2 days. They, pulled it up, and they were like, oh, yeah, we forgot to change this. And I'm like, wow, really? I'm in a hospital, and they're forgetting to change my fucking gauze after I had major abdominal surgery, okay? And lucky I didn't get a serious, massive infection from that. But, anyway, my 6-week postpartum checkup with my OBGYN, who was the one that informed me that I would not be able to breastfeed because I was not engorged, he informed me that I should not attempt to have a vaginal birth after cesarean section because of the fact that I did not respond to synthetic versions of my body's natural hormone Pitocin. And I just think this is completely ludicrous. It really angers me that women in labor are treated like pretty much cattle. And, cattle don't even deserve that kind of a treatment. I felt like I was treated like I had no brain of my own. Actually, even at one point, one of the women told me that even though I was being monitored like 45 minutes out of every hour, no more than that, it was almost pretty much like every hour, every minute of every hour, that if I didn't lay flat on my back and allow them to monitor Azalea's heartbeat, which is actually dangerous for the baby, you're not supposed to lay it flat on your back when you're pregnant, that they would be forced to put in a fetal electronic monitor or something like that on her scalp, which is actually like a little sharp thing that goes in through her skin on her scalp. And I was like, no, you're not giving my daughter that. And they're like, well, that'll be up to your doctor to decide. Like, really bitchy. And, oh, it really angered me the way that I was treated when I was in labor. I didn't feel that it was right. And just to clarify things, this happened at Marcus Daly Memorial Hospital in Montana. So if anybody, ever goes there, they can probably expect some of the similar treatment from the nurses. There were actually a couple of really great nurses that I had that were really inspirational, but I even had another nurse that kept pressuring me for an epidural and even had me sign epidural consent forms while I was in labor, even though I told her that I did not want an epidural and that I would not get an epidural. And she asked me like every 5 minutes while I was in labor when I wanted my epidural. And I made it through, like 39 hours of labor with no epidural, so there you go. I didn't want it, I didn't need it, so I know my own pain tolerance, and I know I could do it. Um, and that's pretty much it. It was just a terrible, terrible, terrible experience, and I hope that I never have to go through that again. Hopefully, when Mackenzie and I have our next baby, it'll be natural, and hopefully we'll be in Chicago or some other civilized city so that I don't have to endure this kind of crap with doctors that have no idea what the hell they're doing. Anyways, bye guys.